The story takes place in a world where the Alliance Army and the Demon Lord's army have been battling for 7 days straight. On one side is our protagonist and the hero of the world, and on the other side is the Demon Lord. Eventually, the battle between these two powerful foes takes place, and while the Demon Lord tries to retaliate by hitting the hero with a powerful spell, he manages to dodge the strike and counterattacks by slicing the Demon Lord into pieces, ultimately putting an end to both the Demon Lord and the war. Now that the hero named Morishita has defeated the Demon Lord, he is free to go home. Apparently, before he got reincarnated, Morishita was getting bullied by his classmates simply because they enjoyed turning him into a mess. When one of the bullies told him to clean his face with a plunger, Morishita decided to bolt and managed to hide inside one of the washroom stalls. At that point, he was summoned to another world, and the bully who peeked inside found nothing but an empty stall. Back in the present, he remembers all that and figures that it's not the world he wants to return to. Once he finishes celebrating the victory with the people of that world, his party members question if Morishita really wishes to leave all the fame and riches he has collected and return to his original world, to which Morishita agrees, telling them that he can't wait to eat his mom's curry again. Before he leaves, the mage of their party asks the princess to say what she wanted to tell Morishita, but instead of that, she simply says her goodbyes, knowing full well that he is the person she fell in love with. With that, he returns to the bathroom stall and finds himself dressed in the cringeworthy hero outfit he used to wear in the other world. Luckily, he still has the status window that he had back there, along with all the skills he collected. Thanks to that, he finds his school uniform in the item box and after changing, returns to his house, where he gets welcomed by his pocket-sized mother. Morishita instantly begins tearing up, and to his surprise, his mother had made the special curry he used to love. Later that night, Morishita decides to head out once his mother falls asleep in order to test the level at which he can use his powers. After dashing across the streets, he realizes that his speed and strength seem to be the same. He then heads to the beach, where no one is present, and punches a giant boulder into pieces. Furthermore, he takes a flight to the middle of the ocean and uses a skill named Thor's hammer, causing a giant explosion. The following day, Morishita is on his way to school when, out of nowhere, the bullies manage to catch him. And just like always, they give him a good beating. But thanks to his skills, Morishita sustains no damage and quietly takes the beating without doing anything. However, he makes sure to visit the counselor's office afterward and shows the counselor the voice recording he recorded during the beating session. This forces the bully named Murashima to apologize, and Morishita ends up forgiving him, figuring that he might stop after all these insults. But he couldn't have been more wrong, as after school, Morishita gets kidnapped by Murashima, who takes him to the mountains to give Morishita the beating of his life. Surprisingly, Murashima went all out and brought a knife alone, but since Morishita had been cut deep by much bigger blades, he couldn't care less. Seeing the smile on his face, Murashima slams his head with a baseball bat, putting enough strength that could have easily eliminated any normal person. However, he doesn't stop there and goes for another strike, but this time, Morishita makes sure to strengthen his body, causing Murashima's hand to break and the baseball bat to bend like a straw. This whole situation reminds Murashima of how Morishita disappeared when they were beating him yesterday, and he questions where he went. While flexing his jacked body, Morishita lets him know that he went to the other world. Hearing this, Murashima's lackey starts to mock him, but before he could even finish his sentence, Morishita punches him right in the throat, knocking him out for good. Seeing this, Murashima starts to tremble in fear, and without wasting any time, he punches Murashima in the gut as well, sending him flying in the air. Knowing that Murashima might die after falling from such a height, he catches him midair, contemplating how he can't just go slaying a classmate. Nevertheless, he then takes a look at Murashima and realizes that all the bones in his body are broken. Luckily, Morishita can use intermediate healing magic, which should be enough for such injuries. Soon after, Murashima wakes up and finds himself in the forest. He then remembers abducting Morishita when suddenly, chills run down his whole body, and after that, he decides to just stop messing around with him, saying that it wasn't that fun anyway. Apparently, Morishita used memory alteration on him to make him forget everything except for the feelings behind those memories. Now that he has dealt with both the bullies and the demon lord, Morishita believes that all his problems are gone, and now he can return to his peaceful life. The next day, he goes to school in a jolly mood, thinking how he's going to take back his school years, unknowingly passing by a girl who notices his strange aura and wonders who this person is. Later in class, Morishita decides to better understand his powers if he wants to live this new life of his. Although he was called a hero, all Morishita did was swing his sword around without doing anything productive. Currently, abnormal physical strength and some magic powers are all he has. Just then, a thought comes into his mind, and he realizes that this means he can do anything he wants. Since he gave up on becoming a baseball player in the past, Morishita decides to check how much bread he can make if he gets into the big leagues now. After seeing the average salary of a pro baseball player, Morishita loses his mind and begins aiming to make his dream a reality. However, his daydreaming gets interrupted when a new student named Layla introduces herself to the class, telling everyone that it should be a pleasure for them to meet her. While she stands there with a big smirk on her face, the teacher elaborates by saying that Layla is half Finnish and half Russian, who was born in Finland but was raised in Italy. She then tells everyone not to hesitate if they want to talk, as she's fluent in Japanese and specifically calls Morishita out. After that, she walks up to him, causing the maidenless loser to wonder if a confession is on the way. But to his surprise, she turns around, disappointed, saying that she thought Morishita had a mysterious aura, but in reality, he's more of a background character at best. Following that, Layla asks the teacher to let her sit by the window as she can't bear to be surrounded by a bunch of normies. After getting the seat of her liking, Layla puts her head down while Morishita wonders if she's some sort of anime fan who thinks that such behavior is normal. But since there were people like her in the other world, Morishita figures that there must be some in this world as well. Nevertheless, he is fully aware of how hot she is, but a big hunker enjoyer like him must stay true to his faith. The person who truly has Morishita's heart is the class president named Tauka, which is obviously because of her enormous bazongas. After class, Morishita asks her to let him join the baseball team, and when she lets him know that he might not have much fun without any experience, Morishita tells Tauka not to worry about it. With that being said, he gets the chance to bat for the school's baseball team and gets advised by Tauka not to get disappointed if he fails to land a hit. Meanwhile, the pitcher, on the other hand, is a bit annoyed at Morishita for wasting their time and throws the ball at Morishita using his full strength to scare him. But thanks to Morishita's powers, the ball, traveling at 90 miles per hour, looks pretty slow to him, and just as he is about to swing his bat, a sword skill gets activated on its own. This forces Morishita to swing his bat like he would swing a sword, hitting the ball with his full strength. After the dust clears, the pitcher notices that the ball was torn into pieces. However, Tauka figures that a defective ball might have gotten mixed with their equipment, saving Morishita from getting some weird stares. Nonetheless, Morishita is aware of how dangerous it is for his skills to activate on their own, as it can affect his everyday life. On his way back home, Morishita notices Layla fighting with a girl at a distance, and to his surprise, another skill named Farsight gets activated automatically. Making use of this skill, Morishita finds out that the girl Layla is fighting is Kaguya, who's from a prominent Shinto family and a year above him at school. But the thing that Morishita likes the most about her is, as expected, her giant snack rack. Ultimately, Layla spits at Kaguya's feet and walks away while Kaguya notices Morishita and instantly gets a bit too close to him. She starts staring into his eyes, getting close to the point where he can practically feel her breath. But in the end, Kaguya figures that it must have been her imagination, and when Morishita questions her about her actions, she apologizes for stopping him and starts walking away. However, Morishita can't let go of a girl who showed interest in him for the first time and ends up stopping her. After that, he embarrassingly asks Kaguya to be his friend, only for the poor lad to get brutally rejected. She then asks him to stay away from her in the future and goes away, leaving Morishita heartbroken, but thanks to the mental resistance skill activating, his heart begins to feel a bit lighter. Just in that moment, Kaguya turns around and starts checking him out once again. After finding out that there's nothing behind him, Kaguya asks if he's acquainted with Layla, but Morishita disagrees, telling her that Layla just transferred. To his shock, Kaguya then pulls out a piece of paper and hands it over to him, saying that it's her contact info. With that being said, she finally leaves, and while Morishita is a bit confused about what just happened, he can't really complain after securing a hot chick's number. Back at home, Morishita realizes that he got pretty lucky, but at the same time, he is aware that this doesn't mean things between them will become romantic. Still, becoming friends with her should be possible, and even if he doesn't have a chance with Kaguya, he can ask her to introduce him to her fellow Mikos. Ultimately, he sends her a text message, and to his surprise, she replies in a matter of seconds. But just as he is about to read her reply, the deadly curse resistance skill gets activated. Seeing that there's nothing nearby, Morishita wonders if the voice of God has lost a few brain cells. Anyway, he reads her message where Kaguya is asking if his family is a part of the Imperial Guard, Imperial Household, or involved with Onmyaji. Morishita figures that she must be investigating the people she hangs out with, and replies by saying that her father works at a bank while her mother is a housewife. Once again, Kaguya replies instantly, and just like before, the deadly curse dispel skill gets activated. For the time being, Morishita decides to ignore the voice of God and reads her message, where she continues to ask him about other famous figures he might be related to. At this point, Morishita gets frustrated and tells Kaguya that if she keeps at it, he might need to find another way to deal with her. Elsewhere, Kaguya is present at her house, and a girl who seems to be a normal student in reality is an exorcist. For generations, her family has acted to exterminate the Chimamuryu apparitions that fester in the darkness. Kaguya also wields one of the greatest powers as an exorcist, and because she is a superpower holder, she can tell if others have powers as well. As soon as she saw Morishita for the first time, she knew that an abnormal aura surrounded him. But after finding out that he didn't have a trace of mana, Kaguya figured that he must be an enigma, and while she could have disposed of him at that moment, gathering information was important for her as well. To start things off, she used abilities like Fortify and Reflex's acceleration, and placed a Shikigami into her phone. However, all that confidence that she had in herself was shattered when her Shikigami got annihilated in an instant, the same Shikigami her family was so proud of. Kaguya realized that she had underestimated Morishita, and knowing that her intentions are already known to him, she bets everything on her next move. Kaguya then notices that Morishita didn't counterattack but sent her a normal message. Believing that it must be a trick to confuse her, Kaguya decides to go all in and sends actual offense Shikigami, unlike the weak ones she sent earlier. But just like before, each and every single one of them gets destroyed instantly, and the force behind the counterattack sends her flying and crashing onto the floor. At this point, Kaguya understands the difference between their powers and begins contemplating her next move when her phone starts to ring. It turns out to be a message from Morishita in which he lets her know that if she continues to press him, he will deal with her in his own way. Kaguya gets terrified reading this and realizes that the checkmated one was her. On the other hand, Morishita patiently waits for her reply, and after an hour passes with no communication from her end, he figures that she must have thought he got angry at her and realizes that the mixer with her hot Miko friends is getting farther away. The following day, Morishita is having some treats on his own, contemplating the fact that Kaguya must hate him now. Just then, a cat appears in front of him, but after noticing a terrifying presence, it runs away as fast as it can. That terrifying presence turns out to be Kaguya, who decided to face him but has no idea what to say. Nonetheless, she starts by apologizing to Morishita for what happened last night, saying that she wasn't aware of his game. Moreover, Kaguya remembers how easily he defeated her Shikigami, which ends up making her pissed at herself, causing Morishita to believe that she's most definitely angry at him. Kaguya is also aware that there are no excuses left for her to make, as her only option is to surrender outright. However, finding a foothold for negotiations would still be her best bet. Eventually, she questions what Morishita plans to do to her, to which Morishita replies by saying that it's pretty obvious. Judging by his reply, Kaguya starts to wonder if he's going to attack, but to her shock, he once again asks her to be his friend. However, Kaguya is sure that he's lying because in her mind, a person of his caliber would never get close to her outside of some scheme, and keeping that in mind, she asks about what he wants. Confused, Morishita lets her know that he wishes to be friends because he doesn't have any, and seeing that he wants to keep feigning ignorance, Kaguya grabs his face to confirm something. After getting uncomfortably close to his chopped face, she realizes something and lets him go. Apparently, she used a special spell on him that lets her peer into others' hearts, but it only works if the target willingly opens their heart, which means Morishita is actually opening his heart to her. Regardless, she delves deeper into his heart, only to find out that it's filled with nothing but thoughts about her jiggle factories. Shocked, Kaguya instantly gets away from him and wonders if he's really not scheming anything and wishes to be friends with her. Apparently, Kaguya believes that Morishita is a power holder with no affiliation, and since she might be the first power holder he has ever met, Morishita wants to become friends with her. Ultimately, Kaguya asks if he's really genuine, to which Morishita agrees, making her realize that he really is just a lonely power holder. Turns out Kaguya has always been lonely as well because even her family and relatives are nothing but rivals in family succession. Since she has absolutely zero friends, Kaguya can understand how Morishita feels. Keeping that in mind, she tells him to start celebrating, and when Morishita asks what she means, Kaguya lets him know that she will be his friend. Hearing this, his dream of that Miko mixer starts looking a bit more achievable. He is then told by Kaguya that the two of them are going to be equals in this friendship, to which he agrees. Moreover, Kaguya is aware that Morishita's magic is on a higher level than hers, and in any normal circumstances, she would be begging him to be her master, but lowering herself like that doesn't feel right to her. Anyways, she starts off by suggesting they get to know each other better, and if they seem to click, becoming messaging buddies could be the next step. Furthermore, when they cross that bridge, she will be telling him her secret. The rules that she set are simple. If he upsets her mood at any point today, it's all over, and the same goes for the other way around as well. With that being said, Kaguya asks him to take care of her today and walks away, thinking how it's been a while since she was in a good mood. Later that day, Morishita is sitting in his class, confused about why he received 252 messages from Kaguya, which are all pretty dumb, pointless ones. But since he's doing this all for that Miko mixer, Morishita strengthens his heart in order to make it through these tough times. Just then, he witnesses Layla telling her lackey the stuff she wants him to buy for her while keeping her feet on his back. For now, Morishita decides to just ignore it as he's got enough issues to deal with. Meanwhile, Kaguya is in her class, patiently waiting for Morishita to reply to her text, thinking how she had no idea that such a casual conversation could bring her such peace of mind. After reaching home, the number of messages Morishita received from Kaguya had crossed the 1,000 mark. Just as he thought it was over, his phone started ringing again, and this time, it was a call from her. After picking up, she starts by congratulating him for passing the test and becoming her message buddy. Furthermore, she advises him to keep up the hard work so his dream of becoming real buddies from message buddies can come true. However, Morishita, who is beyond annoyed at this point, asks what she wants, to which Kaguya replies by saying that there's something he needs to know. Curious, Morishita shifts all his attention to what she is about to say, only for Kaguya to tell him that she doesn't have any friends. But this is something Morishita already knew, and Kaguya follows it by saying that he's the first person to become her message buddy, asking him to carry this title with pride. Hearing this, reality falls upon Morishita as he realizes that this means Kaguya doesn't have any Miko friends either, and these message barrages might become an everyday thing. As a last attempt, Morishita asks if she really does not have any other friends like Miko's from work. But to his disappointment, she agrees, informing him that aside from him, her contact list is only family. This is exactly why Kaguya is happy to have got her first message buddy and is grateful to him. Morishita then reminds her that she said any of them can end this if they don't like it, and wonders what will happen if he wanted to stop. Kaguya replies by saying that the day is over, and so is the testing phase. However, Morishita insists by asking what might happen if he still wishes to stop and gets told by her that it'll be the end of him. After hearing her reply, Morishita can't help but laugh nervously as he has now stepped on a landmine. A few days have passed since then, and Morishita has somehow managed to keep the number of messages between them to a minimum, with one call per day. While walking aimlessly in the school, Morishita notices Layla talking to someone, and remembers that she has already become somewhat of a monarch, who is always surrounded by some Cheeto-dusted neckbeards. Out of nowhere, Morishita's sharp ear skill gets activated, which allows him to eavesdrop on her conversation. Apparently, she is talking to someone about the infiltration being a success. Moreover, she lets that person know that cooperating with a local exorcist organization is not her style, and eventually agrees to fulfill this mission in the name of the Magic Raiment Angel's dominions. Hearing this, Morishita is shocked by how cringe one can be and realizes that she must be one of those delusional weebs. As she continues to talk on the phone, Morishita starts begging someone to stop her, as it's hurting him just listening to her. Ultimately, she gets interrupted when another delusional weeb like her appears, asking if dominions like Layla really have time messing around like this. At this point, Morishita, who is barely controlling his laughter, gets curious about this other person and takes a look, only to find out that it's Kaguya. She tells Layla that her messing in their territory can't be overlooked and asks her to give her best shot. Hearing this, Layla wonders if she's challenging her to see who's the better hunter, but Kaguya disagrees, telling Layla that she has to fulfill a promise with an important friend. Meanwhile, Morishita, who heard this all, decides to run away, fully aware that he needs to ghost Kaguya somehow and formulate a plan to get a taste of Tauka's buns instead. After returning home, Morishita gets scolded by her mother for looking at his phone during a meal, and when she asks if it's a friend of his. Morishita agrees, telling her that it's a female senpai, which comes as a shock to her as she starts to believe that her son might finally start putting his rusty tool to use. After finishing dinner, Morishita thinks about how the number of messages has significantly decreased as compared to the first day, and wonders what the girls from the other world are up to. He then looks at the time and remembers that they scheduled today's phone call for now. Nonetheless, he eventually calls her and gets chewed out for being 2 minutes late. He then asks if this time works for her, to which Kaguya disagrees, telling him that she doesn't have much free time, which shows just how important their call is to her. Morishita then discusses the fact that he saw Kaguya talking to Layla at school, and when Kaguya calls her a weird girl, Morishita tells her that she is the same as her. Afterward, Kaguya lets him know that she knows about her secret, which makes Morishita curious, and he asks her to tell him, wondering just what she might be hiding. With that being said, Kaguya laughs and reveals that Layla doesn't have any friends. Furthermore, she suggests increasing the number of daily messages, and hearing that, Morishita tells her that it's getting late and ends the call. After their conversation ends, Kaguya realizes that it's her fault that Morishita is so troubled, but she can't seem to do much as she wishes to experience a normal student life as well. The next morning, all of Layla's lackeys are worried after seeing her injured, but she dismisses it as nothing. Furthermore, she gets annoyed over the fact that a Tsuchigumo appeared and she screwed up. Nevertheless, he figures that it must be her way to escape from reality and goes to feed the cat in order to divert his mind. Elsewhere, Kaguya is worried over the fact that Layla was left in such a bad condition, which proves that she was no match for the Tsuchigumo. Suddenly, she feels an immense presence coming from that park where she talked to Morishita that one time. Although she knows that Morishita is not a normal power holder, Tsuchigumo is on another level. Kaguya is well aware that she might not be able to do much, but still runs towards it so she can buy Morishita some time to run. On the other hand, Morishita sees the cat tangled in spider webs, and just as he tries to free her, he gets attacked but barely manages to dodge after saving the kitty. Before long, a giant spider makes an appearance, and seeing it, everything the girls were discussing comes running back into his mind, making him realize that maybe they weren't delusional and all this is real. This spider-like apparition named Tsuchigumo is an apparition that Kaguya's elder sister and cousin gave up trying to exorcise, and even Layla gave it her all and barely survived. When facing the great demon Ninetails, Kaguya's Abino family pleaded with this wrathful god and coaxed it to stay asleep. Many of the Mikos had to offer their lives in exchange, And while the Abino family looks like a bunch of skilled exorcists on the front, they are nothing but playthings used to soothe God's wrath. These wrathful gods bring many low-level apparitions along, and the valuable Mikos are offered to them as sacrifices. Just like always, this round's sacrifice is to be decided by exorcism numbers, with the lowest set to be offered. Right now, out of all the candidates of sacrifice, Kaguya is in last place, and although she is a talented exorcist, there is a ton of difference in experience between her and the others. Moreover, she is constantly getting sabotaged by people who are supposed to be her comrades due to political reasons. And just when things couldn't get any worse, Layla appeared. Apparently, Layla is a part of a faction of apparition annihilation extremists, and if the two families work together, even the wrathful gods can be exorcised. However, since a lot of people lost their lives during the previous fight, the Abino family has decided to sacrifice one weak Miko rather than losing several high-level exorcists. Last night, Kaguya made the decision to cut short her exorcist activities because she has mostly given up on surviving and wishes to experience a normal student life, even if it's for a brief moment. With everything in mind, she is currently running towards that park in order to save her one and only friend. After reaching the location, she witnesses Morishita standing face-to-face with the spider. It takes notice of Kaguya and starts attacking her, but she swiftly dodges the attacks. Furthermore, Kaguya makes up her mind to give it her all and even lose her life if it means protecting a dear friend. But just as she is about to fight the spider, Morishita punches it right in the face, causing the so-called overwhelmingly dangerous spider to burst into pieces. Later that day, the two of them find themselves in a cafe where Morishita finally informs her about his journey to the other world. Even though Kaguya finds it hard to believe, she knows that it's not completely unbelievable and figures that he must be using a completely different power system. Afterward, Kaguya mentions that he could have all the organizations in the world at his heels with this kind of power, to which Morishita replies by saying that he was unaware of these kinds of fights taking place in this world. Turns out Kaguya has also informed him about his family keeping a wrathful god sealed for generations, and that she is competing for a position to be her family's successor. While she has told him almost everything, Kaguya made sure not to tell him about her chances of becoming a sacrifice since she doesn't want to burden him. Morishita then asks if the spider they fought was a formidable monster, to which Kaguya agrees, complaining that he took care of it in one punch. This reminds Morishita that these kinds of spiders were upper low-level monsters in his previous world, and he wonders if the ones in this world are fundamentally different. After that, he asks her to let him check her stats, letting her know that it can be denied if she's not willing to participate. Realizing that it might be the same as her skill that lets her read minds, she complies, allowing Morishita to check her stats out. To his surprise, her level is the same as any other normal person, but the stats she's rocking are pretty high for a level 1 and around what a beginner adventurer in the other world had. Not only that, but her skills are pretty lacking, which means Kaguya got her ability level by sheer hard work. Curious, Morishita then asks if she's the weakest member in her family right now who has been falling behind, and while this statement pisses her off, Kaguya can't help but agree. This makes him question if Layla, on the other hand, is an impressive superpower holder, and as soon as these words leave Morishita's mouth, the cute, calm baddie goes feral and mentions that all Layla has is a cheap divine protection, which helps her recover from any injury. Ultimately, he manages to calm her down and believes that Kaguya will be screwed if things remain the same, to which she agrees. Morishita then remembers that people used to level up by defeating monsters and consuming their souls in the other world. However, when he defeated the spider, nothing happened, which made him realize that this world doesn't have a leveling system. Moreover, the difference between his and Kaguya's strength must be due to their level gap, and right now, all she needs to do is level up. With that being said, Morishita decides to take her to the school roof, and when Kaguya questions the reason they are going to a place like that, he tells her not to worry and just follow him. Thinking about it makes Kaguya wonder if he's trying to take her somewhere isolated in order to test the capability of his hot dog. Before it gets too late, she pulls out her strongest spell, only for it to get deactivated by Morishita's skill, leaving Kaguya with no other choice but to reveal her fat giants, allowing him to do whatever he pleases. However, after Morishita explains everything in detail, she blames him for causing the misunderstanding. Nonetheless, Morishita then uses his skill called optical camouflage to hide themselves, since it would be bad if someone were to say what they are about to do. With that being said, he summons an item box, and when Kaguya questions him about it, he lets her know that it's a storage space in which he can store or withdraw anything he wants. At this point, Kaguya isn't even surprised, as he seems to have a lot of tricks up his sleeve, while Morishita starts to find something he stored inside as emergency food. Eventually, he manages to find it and pulls out a full-grown orc from the item box. Shocked, Kaguya asks if it's a pig apparition, but gets told by Morishita that it's just a normal orc, and he asks her to defeat it. However, Kaguya is aware that the orc is not a small fry, and if she lets her guard down, she's done for. Morishita then informs her that orcs have high attack and defense, but on the other hand, they lack intelligence. But Kaguya refuses to be given any additional information since she doesn't intend to have him spoon-feed her. Before long, the orc lets out a loud roar and runs towards Kaguya, trying to grab her. But just in time, she jumps over him, mocking the orc's slow movement. Using the orc's dull reaction time to her advantage, Kaguya starts casting her spell, causing several arms to appear out of nowhere and grab the orc from below. While Morishita is glad that she managed to stop the orc's movement, he is also aware that an orc's strength is no joke, and this sort of spell can't hold it for long. While the orc is focused on its feet, Kaguya attacks its head with a fire spell. Only Morishita is aware that orcs are weak to fire, but Kaguya shouldn't know that, and she's just targeting the orc's weakness with her instincts and battle sense. Seeing the orc struggle with her fire spell, Kaguya pities it for being nothing more than a beast and attacks its nape with her dagger. Just like that, the orc is taken care of, and Morishita gets told by Kaguya that this fight wasn't as hard as he was making it out to be. Afterward, the mana from the orc's body starts to enter Kaguya's body, making her feel overwhelmed by this strange feeling. With that, she levels up to level 4, and Kaguya talks about how it feels like a power is welling up from inside her. Not only that, but she starts to see the status window herself, and Morishita informs her that it's a skill that lets her see her abilities represented as numbers. After taking a closer look at her stats, Kaguya mentions that the number seems to be wrong and lets Morishita know that she measures her plots every day, and they should be G-cups according to her calculation. Nevertheless, Morishita asks her if she feels anything strange, to which Kaguya replies by saying that she feels like her fundamental strength has improved along with her sight, hearing, and all the other abilities. Knowing that she doesn't have a physical enhancement skill activated, Morishita asks her to grip a rock, and as soon as she does, it cracks into pieces. At this moment, Kaguya realizes that her abilities have surpassed those of a human, and at this point, she feels like she has stopped being a human entirely. The next day, Morishita calls Kaguya to tell her about skill points, which she can gain from leveling up and spend on the skills she wants. If she specializes in physical combat, she can strengthen her skills or learn new ones like martial arts, and the same goes for magic. Surprisingly, Kaguya's window even has the Abino family talisman exorcism skill, and Morishita informs that the skills one can learn vary from person to person. This makes Kaguya wonder about the skills she should learn and tells Morishita that she plays games the most efficiently. According to her, most people spend their points all around, leaving them with half-baked abilities. Hearing this, Morishita figures that she must have played a lot of games, to which she agrees, telling Morishita that someone with no real-life friends must immerse themselves in video games. However, unlike video games, she can't do everything all over again, so she doesn't want to end up with the wrong choice, which is why she wants Morishita to give her some advice. Morishita tells her that since she's competing to hunt as many apparitions as possible, detecting enemies might be a useful skill for her. With that, she ends up activating that skill, and as soon as she does, Kaguya begins to feel that she could make a distinction in the faint changes in spirit pressures around her. After that, she thanks him and hangs up on his lonely bum, making Morishita a bit annoyed as she seems to be way into this leveling system. The following day, Morishita is on his way to school, glad that he wasn't dragged into a long phone call with her last night thanks to the status window she discovered. But to his shock, Layla appears in front of her, reminding Morishita that she is a member of Dominions, an organization that annihilates all the enemies of God. Suddenly, she catches him staring at her and questions if he wishes to become one of her slaves as well. Moreover, she offers to slap him across the face daily as a reward, but he refuses, asking her lackeys if they are really okay with this. But they can't be happier than getting their faces stomped by a Smurf-sized baddie like her. Elsewhere, the school guard is watching the news about a criminal who escaped from the police station when, out of nowhere, a jacked dude appears and walks past him. Thinking that it's a parent, the guard tries to stop him, telling the man that guardians are supposed to report to the front desk. But to the guard's shock, that guy pulls out a gun and shoots that underpaid fatty. Layla, who is in class, hears the gunshot, and before long, everyone else starts to discuss it as well. Before long, the criminal opens the classroom door, and after walking inside, he shows everyone his gun, telling them to stop moving or he will blow their brains out. Morishita, at this time, realizes that his danger detection skill is set on monsters, which is why it didn't detect the criminal, and wonders if he's about to be caught up in something troublesome again. Additionally, he is aware that the criminal doesn't look any stronger than an amateur, and while he is going to be fine, the same can't be said about his classmates. Although he can take care of it in an instant, Morishita doesn't want to stand out and decides to use the loose cannon, better known as Layla, for this situation. However, after hearing Layla talking to herself, he uses the sharp ear skill and finds out that she has been ordered by the Vatican to avoid using force on civilians, which is why she can't do much but observe until the police appear. Following that, the criminal tells all the girls to line up, saying that since he's going to be executed, he might as well taste the cake one last time. While the girls are terrified upon hearing this, the nerds in the class become enraged. He then comments on how the class has some nice quality women and wonders who he should taste first. Frustrated, contemplates whether he should stop him now, but at the same time, he is aware that any wrong move can worsen the situation. Ultimately, the criminal tells the girls to undress since it's hard for him to decide when they are all wearing the same thing. When the girls start to resist, he threatens to start emptying his magazine on the boys if they don't listen to him. Having no other choice, the class president, Tauka, agrees to take off her clothes, telling the criminal not to hurt anyone. With that, she finally takes off her top, allowing the world to gaze upon the divine curvatures. After that, he tells the rest of the girls to do the same, saying that it would be sad to leave her up there all alone. While the other girls start to comply, he walks up to Layla, questioning the reason she isn't taking off her clothes. But after taking a better look at her, he tells Layla to just leave it since she's way too flat for his taste. Hearing this, her lackeys start to curse the criminal for not saying that after making her strip. Nevertheless, Layla instantly takes off her clothes, telling the criminal to look at her toned, slender body, asking if she's still not his taste. While the boys start to cheer for her, the criminal mentions that she's nothing but a shorty, mocking her by saying that there should be a limit to how flat a chest can be. With that being said, he shifts his focus to Tauka, telling her that she is the first one he is going to have fun with. After that, the criminal orders her to undress even further, and when Tauka tries to resist, he gets close to her, asking her to repeat what she just said. With tears flowing down her face, Tauka straight up refuses, enraging the criminal, who ends up kicking her in the face. Layla ultimately decides to intervene and clenches her fist, but stops after Morishita zooms towards Tauka and saves her from falling onto the floor. Furious, Morishita tells the criminal that he has had enough of this, and after healing Tauka, he apologizes for not stopping him sooner. After she stands up, Tauka notices that all the pain she was experiencing is gone. Meanwhile, Morishita, who is insanely furious, gives that criminal the deadliest stare possible. But after seeing that everyone is terrified of him, Morishita controls his anger while everyone, including Layla, starts to wonder what he has done. Somehow, the criminal manages to overcome his fear and confronts Morishita for doing all that despite seeing a gun in his hand. However, seeing that Morishita is as unfazed as ever by his threats, the criminal tells him not to act cool in front of the Huz and tells Morishita to tell him his name. The reason behind this is that the criminal likes to remember the names of people he has eliminated, as it gets him raging, remembering the looks on their faces. With zero hesitation, Morishita tells him his name, and with that, the criminal says his goodbyes and fires the shot. In an instant, Morishita buffs his speed and reaction time using various skills and notices that the gun is aimed right at his head. Even though he won't take any damage from the bullet, his public image would be in danger if he didn't get hurt by it. So to avoid that, Morishita decides to act as if the bullet missed him. After moving away from the bullet's trajectory, Morishita uses illusion magic on the criminal, causing him to see a monster right in front of his face that is not actually real. Before the criminal could even react, Morishita followed up by punching him right in the face and knocking him out. Since he used the illusion magic on him, the criminal will be experiencing an infinite nightmare loop till the day he dies. With that being done, Morishita notices the weird silence in class, and to avoid any suspicion, he mentions that his Aikido lessons came through. Hearing this, Layla grabs his hand, complimenting him for mastering Aikido and letting him know that she respects stuff like that. Furthermore, she tells everyone to throw the Aikido master in the air to celebrate their victory. And while they do, Morishita thanks God for making his classmates a bunch of idiots. While they are all busy celebrating, Tauka looks at Morishita, feeling her heart race. Soon after, the police showed up and took the criminal with them, while everyone was told that a martial arts student got lucky and subdued the criminal. With that, Morishita is on his way back home and finds Layla waiting for him outside the school gate. He lets her know that he doesn't plan on becoming her slave, but Layla lets him know that it's not about that and asks him to become her master instead. Moreover, she lets Morishita know that he can't fool her, as she saw him dodging the bullet. But instead of thinking that he has superpowers, she figures that he must be really skilled, maybe a black belt master who is keeping his real strength a secret. Hearing this, Morishita figures that Layla must be the type who's full of weird ideas about ninjas and samurai. Nevertheless, she begins asking for his contact information, telling Morishita that while she doesn't look like it, she's pretty competent as well. Ultimately, Layla says that Morishita becoming her master is already decided, and lets him know that she will be hanging around him so she can steal the secret to his mysterious skill. Later that day, Kaguya is busy practicing her archery skills, thinking about how the sacrifice selection hunt is in 4 days. Apparently, in this contest, the Miko with the fewest apparitions exorcised will be eaten alive by the nine-tailed fox, and currently, Kaguya is in last place. Just then, her practice session gets interrupted by a girl named Yui, who mocks Kaguya for wasting her time. Kaguya lets her know that she doesn't consider some last-minute tuning before a hunt a waste of time, which causes Yui to laugh uncontrollably, and she advises her to use the remaining time she has to enjoy her life instead. Annoyed, Kaguya reminds her that the competition is not over yet, and gets told by Yui that she is currently in 4th place with 30 more eliminations than her, and wonders if Kaguya can really close that gap while she's racking up marks as well. Curious, Kaguya asks if Yui, referring to the apparitions that were weakened by her that she stole. Yui replies by advising Kaguya to do the same if it frustrates her, that is, if she can even pull it off. With that, she attacks the targets with her talisman and tells Kaguya that she might have some talent, but the gap between the two of them is still too much. Moreover, Yui wonders if Kaguya is still a virgin, and when Kaguya agrees, Yui informs her that before a Miko is eaten by the Ninetail, its little ogre underlings like to play rough with them. Now Yui can only imagine what they must be like, being able to have some naughty action every 200 years, and is glad that she is not in Kaguya's shoes. Nevertheless, Kaguya lets her know that she doesn't have time to keep this chat going, and hearing this, Yui realizes that Kaguya still plans on wasting her time struggling. Additionally, she believes that only if Kaguya had more years to grow, he might have become quite the spellcaster, but in reality, she will be getting devoured by the Nine Tails soon. Suddenly, Kaguya fires one of her talismans, causing a giant explosion and causing Yui to spit out her drink in shock. Turns out, Kaguya used her skill points to level up her talisman technique, which has increased the attack power of her spell. Flabbergasted, Yui mentions that there's no way Kaguya could have gotten so strong all of a sudden, and gets told by her that the problem was a difference in experience. But now, Yui couldn't possibly imagine the experience she has gained, which now lies within her. Elsewhere, Layla is out in the city, hunting down apparitions and thinking how there are fewer of them compared to the number she's sensing. Right now, she is busy taking advantage of the Abino family sacrifice selection, and while around half of the apparitions that appear are dealt with by the Abino family, the other half is dealt with by her alone. Thinking about this starts to make Layla anxious as she begins to wonder if they managed to beat her to the punch. Moreover, she remembers the time when she was ordered to go to Japan, and when Layla questioned the reason she was being sent to such a distant land, her senior told her that it was an order from the Vatican, adding that this order came directly from His Grace. Back in the present, Layla is aware that her reputation might take a hit at this rate and thinks about working together with the Abino family, only to realize that it will be impossible with the sacrifice selection underway. At the same time, Kaguya is out and about, using her enemy detection skill to detect all the spirit pressure within a 300-meter radius. Even before this skill, her ability to detect enemies was higher than that of others, so her family used to flank her, block her, and take away her prey. At that time, they just had to make sure that they were not the ones in last, which is a pretty messed up thing now that she thinks about it. Right now, all Kaguya has to do is break free of their entrapment and hunt her prey. Before long, she notices some ogrelings hiding in the tree, stalking a girl who is on her way home. In an instant, she appears right behind them, and when they try to jump her using their numbers to their advantage, Kaguya lets them know that she doesn't have the pity to spare them tonight and burns each and every single one of them. On the other hand, Yui notices that Kaguya is now capable of slipping past them. Just then, another girl named Sakuya appears, saying that Kaguya's abnormal boost in strength is something they must figure out and resolve as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, Morishita is lying on his bed, thinking about how his school life is going forward unchanged, which is a huge relief. Soon after, he receives a call from Kaguya, and he hears some heavy breathing from the other end. Concerned, Morishita asks if she's hurt, to which she disagrees and asks him to guess what she is wearing right now. Morishita says that she must be in her pajamas, but he is told that all Kaguya is wearing are peach protectors. Flustered, Morishita questions the reason she's telling him that, to which Kaguya replies by saying that she's feeling pretty hot tonight. She further tells him that she managed to eliminate almost 100 apparitions, because of which she has pulled far ahead of everyone else. Moreover, Kaguya asks about the kind of pants he's wearing right now, causing Morishita to get disappointed and tell Kaguya that she is doing nothing but harassing him over the phone. Hearing this comes as a shock to Kaguya, as she thought the criminal making all the girls undress would awaken Morishita's inner monster. After that, she makes sure to inform him that her plot covers are off and those jugs are out on display. Just then, he starts to hear some pretty questionable stuff from the other end. After a moment of silence, Kaguya informs him that this is the sound of her gently picking at the inside of her cheek, as by pulling it back and letting go, it makes a wet sound. Ultimately, Morishita has had enough, and when Kaguya asks if he's enjoying this session with her, he asks if she's toying with him just because he is a virgin. However, Kaguya reveals that she is a virgin as well and congratulates him for being promoted from her message buddy to her dirty phone call partner. The following day at school, Layla hears everything about Morishita's new role and starts making fun of him. Moreover, she mentions how impressed she is that Morishita managed to get anywhere with that socially awkward girl, but Morishita lets her know that it's not what she thinks. Out of nowhere, Kaguya suddenly appears in his class and tells Morishita to come eat lunch in the courtyard with her. Hearing this, all the lonely simps of the class start to confront Morishita, only to be told by Kaguya in a tsundere manner that it's nothing more than lunch. Before Morishita leaves, Layla touches his shoulder and advises him to wear protection. Once outside, Morishita takes a look at the lunch she made and is surprised that she managed to pull this off. However, Kaguya reveals that the food was pre-cooked, and all she did was microwave it for 10 minutes. Nonetheless, Morishita prepares to enjoy this meal that she prepared, but stops after noticing her staring into his soul. Kaguya then asks her about the asparagus he's holding, and after taking a bite, Morishita lets her know that it tastes average for a frozen dish. After hearing this, Kaguya starts crying, asking if he's really calling the food she woke up at 2 in the morning to make average. Puzzled, Morishita reminds her that she said it was frozen food and gets told by Kaguya that she was just hiding her embarrassment, and in reality, she was trying to repay his kindness. Morishita then asks the reason she's hiding her embarrassment since making lunch was out of character enough. Kaguya agrees with his understanding and decides to be more honest from now on. Furthermore, Kaguya reveals that she lied about waking up at 2 in the morning, as in reality, she didn't even sleep a wink. Apparently, she did it because Morishita did such a great thing for her, and she didn't know how to express her gratitude. Morishita replies by telling her to be more straightforward, as this type of behavior isn't like her. Kaguya agrees with him and catches him by surprise by expressing her gratitude for saving her. Seeing the expression on Morishita's face, Kaguya asks if it was really that surprising, to which Morishita replies by saying that she looked even prettier when she smiled. His compliment ends up making Kaguya flustered, and she tells him to forget about it and finish his food already. The next morning, Layla is hiding behind a pole, looking at Morishita's house for the first time. Apparently, she got her hands on the class's registry, which helped her find his address. Although she has tried many times to follow Morishita home, he always manages to slip away every single time. Before long, Morishita returns home, but to Layla's surprise, he has returned with Kaguya. This reminds her how the two of them have been all buddy-buddy recently, which annoys her to the point that she ends up confronting them head-on, saying that they are pretty indecent. However, Kaguya lets her know that she merely came over for a party at his house as a friend, and figures that it must be hard for someone like Layla to understand the concept of a friend. Moreover, she mentions that it's Morishita's birthday, which is why she decided to grace him with her presence and celebrate with him. But little does she know that Morishita's not actually the age he's supposed to be since he spent 3 years in the other world, but it would be too troublesome to explain all that. Meanwhile, Kaguya continues to tease Layla by saying that people generally get together with their friends on birthdays, which she believes might be hard for Layla to understand, considering she doesn't have any friends. While Kaguya is talking big in front of Layla, only Morishita knows that she practically invited herself to his house. Nonetheless, Layla tells Kaguya that she's acting pretty relaxed considering how it wasn't long ago that she was jumping at her own shadow. Hearing this, Kaguya continues to brag on Layla by telling her that it's pretty rough not being alone, as she's always on the phone all night. Ultimately, Layla grabs her collar out of frustration, causing Kaguya to wonder if she's jealous. Just then, the argument between the two gets interrupted when Morishita lets them know that his mom went all out after hearing that his friends are coming over, and asks Layla if she wants to join them too. Enraged, Kaguya mentions that this is supposed to be a friends event reserved for those bonded by true friendship. However, Morishita corrects her by saying that the two of them are just message buddies like she said, which comes as a shock to her. Tears start flowing down her face as Kaguya calls Morishita out for saying such cruel things after what he did to her body. Seeing this, Layla mentions that she would like to talk about Aikido and stuff, so accompanying him through dinner might not be a bad idea. Just then, Kaguya intervenes, telling Layla that she will not permit such selfishness and takes out her talisman, deciding to expel those who wish to trespass. Luckily, Morishita's mom interrupts their fight by coming outside the house, asking who these two girls are. Curious, Kaguya asks if she's Morishita's little sister, to which she disagrees, letting the two know that it's actually his mother. Both of them are shocked to hear that while his mother talks about it being embarrassing for them to call her young. Once inside, Morishita's mother serves them a dish straight from Hell's Kitchen, causing Kaguya to question whether the thing about Morishita's mother being a good cook is really true. Layla also realizes that the dish doesn't seem edible since she can smell chemicals and wonders why there is hydrochloric acid on the table. Without wasting a second, Morishita starts slurping down the noodles, saying how the secret ingredient, that being sulfuric acid, makes it extra tasty. The girls figure that it must be a joke, as no one cooks food with acids. Believing it to be a joke, Kaguya takes a bite, only to scream afterward due to how hot it is. Before she could even recover from the last bite, Morishita's mother brought the next dish, which was stir-fried shrimp in chili sauce. Luckily, this looks like a normal dish, but Layla is a bit concerned as she's not good with spicy food. Kaguya makes fun of her by saying that it's her immaturity that stops her from growing, causing Layla to challenge Kaguya to eat it instead. Since she can't smell any chemicals this time, Kaguya decides to give it a go, and just like before, She spits it out in an instant and begins rolling on the ground due to how spicy it is. After she's been taken care of, Morishita's mother moves on to Layla, asking if she's not going to eat anything. Knowing that stomach ache would be the least of her concerns if she eats this, Layla tries making an excuse. But to her shock, Morishita's mother starts to tear up, saying that she's sad to hear that Layla wouldn't even have a little taste. At this point, Layla gets confused and wonders which choice will resolve with least damage taken. Kagura adds to the fire by telling Layla to hurry up, telling her not to insult his mother. Ultimately, she lets his mother know that spicy things make her stomach hurt, causing Morishita's mother to offer her some yakisoba instead. Morishita also tells her not to get so worked up, as it tastes good, and Kaguya questions if she really hates spicy food that much. But when Layla disagrees, Morishita asks for the real reason, and knowing that she isn't left with any other choice, Layla reveals that she has hemorrhoids. Everyone is caught by surprise after hearing this, and luckily, Morishita's mother moves on from making her eat the food and suggests getting to the main event, which is the present distribution. This makes Layla realize that she showed up to his birthday completely empty-handed, and there's no way she can prepare anything on the go. However, Kaguya steps up and hands Morishita his present, telling him that it's from her and Layla. Surprised, he asks if Layla knew about his birthday as well, to which she agrees, saying that he is her master. But on the inside, Layla is confused as she can't believe Kaguya actually covered for her. The birthday gift he receives turns out to be a body pillow with Kaguya's picture on it, which he can use for all sorts of stuff later that night. Now that the present time is over, Morishita's mother mentions that it's now time for a family bath. With that, the girls are taken to the bathroom, and while Layla is a bit hesitant to take a bath at someone else's house, Kaguya tells her that it's much better than Morishita's mother putting a third meal in front of them. But at the same time, Kaguya understands Layla's concerns about not showing anyone her iron board of a body. This insult pisses Layla off to the point that she instantly takes off her clothes, telling her to have a look at this work of art. At first, Kaguya begins to make fun of Layla for wearing childish underwear, only for her to realize that Morishita's mother is wearing the polka dots one as well. Nevertheless, Kaguya suggests they stop wasting time and get going already, causing Layla to mock Kaguya for being so eager just because she's got confidence in her body. Curious, Kaguya questions the reason she's not undressing, to which Layla replies by saying that the place she's from doesn't have any customs where one gets bare-skinned in front of others. However, Morishita's mother mentions that Italy seems to have a long history of public bathhouses nationwide, and now that Layla's lies have been exposed, Kaguya begins forcing her to do even more. Eventually, she manages to take off her peach protectors, only to be dumbfounded by what she saw. Without wasting any time, she then starts making fun of Layla for being so old, and yet having a peach this smooth. With tears in her eyes, Layla mentions that this is the exact reason she didn't want to undress, but Kaguya reassures her that it looks like a peach and is pretty cute. After that, Layla forcefully takes off Kaguya's underwear and is surprised by what she sees down there. Nevertheless, she comments on how this is not a competition as everyone's body is different, adding the fact that there's a person who clearly looks even younger than her. Hearing this, Morishita's mother is forced to reveal her mighty cave as well, along with the whole untamed jungle going on down there, causing the girls to scream in terror. The next day, Morishita wonders why the two of them went totally quiet after the bath, but they are way too disturbed to even say anything. Just then, Tauka appears with a lunch box in her hand, telling him that she made it for him. Curious, Morishita questions her reasoning and gets told by Tauka that it's a thank you for saving her back then. Realizing that one of his life goals, which is to receive a homemade lunch from a girl, has just come true, he instantly agrees to eat it. As expected, it looks pretty well made, proving the fact that Tauka's feminine skills are way beyond Kaguya's. While eating together, Tauka discusses the fact that Kaguya made lunch for him as well and questions if the two of them are going out. Morishita disagrees, telling her that it was a show of thanks as well, which makes Tauka believe that he must be nice to everyone. Moreover, she tells him that at that time her body was shaking due to how scared she was. But as soon as Morishita held her in his arms, she felt the warmth in his heart, and since then, she has been watching him. Furthermore, she had realized that Morishita made a lot of friends, so if she didn't go on the offensive right now, he could get taken away. Lastly, she asks if he has any plans for this Sunday, and when Morishita disagrees, she ends up inviting him to go on a date with her. It has now been 3 days since that day, and Kaguya has eliminated 0 apparitions, which has guaranteed her last place. She is given a blade passed down for generations, which she figures is a farewell gift. Just then, her father appears and informs her that the results are in, and it has been decided that she is going to be the offering. Curious, Kaguya asks him the details behind this, to which he replies by saying that her sister, Sakuya, teamed up with other candidates and made it a 4-against-1 competition. But instead of being disappointed, her father is proud, as according to him, one needs to be at least this callous when confronting apparitions. He further says that with Kaguya being the sacrifice, the Abino family is going to be secure for the next 200 years. Kaguya then questions her father about Sakuya receiving a marriage proposal from the main family and wonders if that is what this is all about. Her father replies by telling Kaguya that beauty is also power, and mentions that this is the result of the eccentric words that she has chosen time and time again. Sakuya then intervenes and hands Kaguya a little bottle, telling her that it's a forbidden potion that a sacrifice can use to end their life, hence saving them from the suffering. However, Kaguya slaps her hand and breaks the bottle, telling Sakuya that just the thought of her sharing blood with someone like her makes her want to puke. With a smile on her face, Sakuya comments on how glad she is that Kaguya is about to die and asks her to make sure she suffers a living hell till the very end. Elsewhere, Morishita is sitting in class, overjoyed due to the fact that he secured a date with the hottie of his dreams. This means more to him because in his previous life, he wasn't nearly as popular as most heroes are. Suddenly, Kaguya appears before him, asking if he has a moment to talk. Since she is aware that her opponent is a god, Kaguya believes that someone like Morishita, who has gained powers beyond common sense, might be the only one capable of doing something. Morishita reassures her that he is using her body pillow pretty passionately, but Kaguya dismisses that and asks about their relationship. He lets her know that they are message buddies who message each other, wondering if this is some sort of joke. Realizing that they are just supposed to message each other, Kaguya asks if he is all right with giving her a few hours of his time on Sunday. Seeing the bothered look on his face, she asks if something is wrong and gets told by Morishita that he has promised to go watch a movie with a girl from his class. Curious, she asks if she is his message buddy, and Morishita lets her know that she is somewhat of a friend. Hearing this, Kaguya experiences pain in her heart, which confuses her since it's not like she neglects her health. Lastly, Kaguya asks if his plans are something that takes priority over a request from her, to which Morishita agrees, telling her that he made the promise first. Ultimately, she figures that it would be too selfish for her to ask him to risk his life and protect her. With that, she apologizes for bothering him, and when Morishita tells her that he'd see her next week, Kaguya walks away, fully aware that she might not even be alive by that time. Finally, it's Sunday, and Kaguya is being taken to the mountain where everything will go down, and to her surprise, she starts to tremble from fear. Moreover, she thinks about how Morishita and she are supposed to be equal, which is why she can't force him to save her. Knowing that they are message buddies, Kaguya decides to send him one last message and thinks about how if he could see him again, she happily would call him her real friend. With that, she throws her phone away and prepares to face the apparitions present in front of her. There are currently 2 Tsuchigumo in front of her, which she believes the 9-tailed god will use to torture her to her demise. At her current power level, she can at most bring one of them down, but at the same time, Kaguya doesn't plan on surrendering without a fight. Unexpectedly, Layla appears out of nowhere, telling Kaguya that she can't win against them alone. Shocked, Kaguya asks where she came from, to which Layla replies by saying that she can never overlook a great hunting spot like this. Furthermore, as she transforms, Layla says that she can't have Kaguya dying before she can repay her, as it would leave a bad taste in her mouth. Kaguya then mocks Layla by reminding her that she got absolutely trashed on by them last time, to which Layla replies by saying that she couldn't go all out in the middle of the city. Additionally, she tells Kaguya that all she is going to do is help her out with the Tsuchigumo, as she doesn't plan on giving away her life alongside her. Nevertheless, still finding it hard to believe that they have decided to team up, the girls prepare themselves to exterminate some apparitions. Elsewhere, Morishita just finished watching a movie with Tauka and mentions how surprised he is to know that she likes the horror genre. Furthermore, he asks Tauka the reason she invited him on a date out of the blue, and Tauka tells him that the baseball team captain had been two-timing her. At first, she was planning on getting back at him, but now she doesn't care about that and ends up holding Morishita's arm. After she confirms that he is not dating Kaguya, Tauka asks if it's all right for her to stick close to him like this. She then starts pressing her jugs against his arm, and although Morishita is wearing a sweater, he can still feel the absurd amount of softness they carry. Just then, he receives a text from someone, making Tauka wonder if it's from Kaguya. But as soon as Morishita checks the message, he apologizes to Tauka, saying that he needs to leave. Confused, Tauka says that she thought Kaguya wasn't his girlfriend, and Morishita agrees with her, telling her that she's just a message buddy. This makes Tauka realize that she's a precious friend to him, and while Morishita's not sure about her being precious, he is sure that he'd be a failure of a hero if he doesn't go to her right now. With that, he activates his detection skill, and after finding a strong presence nearby, he flies towards it, leaving Tauka behind, who believes that she just got rejected. Elsewhere, Kaguya, who is injured, tells Layla to drop out, as this is more than enough from her, but she refuses, telling Kaguya that she is just getting started. However, Kaguya argues that Layla is wounded from head to toe and is just a hindrance at this point. But according to Layla, Kaguya herself can barely stand, and their conversation gets interrupted when two more apparitions arrive. Still not faltering, Layla tells them to bring it on, and when Kaguya asks her not to go this far for her, Layla lets her know that she's not doing this for her, and adds the fact that she didn't come this far only to be made to look like a fool. Moreover, although it is against the Vatican's law, Layla decides to whip out a forbidden item, or in other words, a relic, calling it full spirit raiment. Kaguya is aware of how important relics are, and seeing it in the hands of an unseated member like Layla, Kaguya figures that she must have her circumstances as well. With that being said, Layla flies towards the apparitions and defeats them with a single strike. But before she could even take a sigh of relief, something else attacked her, sending Layla flying and crashing onto the ground. To their surprise, it turns out to be a new apparition named Ushin that is a much stronger one than these spiders. Even if Layla has a relic, she is badly hurt right now and won't be able to do much. Before long, the apparition comes at Layla, and just as it's about to strike her down, Kaguya manages to attack it using her flame talisman. But to her surprise, it didn't even leave a mark on the apparition, and seeing this, Kaguya couldn't help but accept her loss. Just then, Layla flies above it and pierces its head using her relic, allowing her to take it down for good. Kaguya is shocked, as while she was aware of Layla's recovery ability, she wasn't aware of how good it was. However, their discussion cuts off when Layla is sent flying once again, and this time, all it took was a finger flick. In the meantime, Kaguya begins sensing the overwhelming aura of this new enemy they are facing, and soon after it walks out of the shadows, praising the girls for giving him a good show. As soon as Kaguya looks at him, she instantly realizes that he is none other than the wrathful god named Ninetails. In order to get a hold of herself, Kaguya jokes about how she thought a delicate man popped out of the woods, but it turned out to be the complete opposite. But to her surprise, the Ninetails didn't appreciate her joke one bit, and told Kaguya how he thought a sorcerer as exceptional as herself might say something different. According to him, every human that meets him either bluffs or begs, and he has grown tired of it. Nevertheless, the Ninetails then comes close to Kaguya, letting her know that he will now eat her slowly and gently while listening to her screams of supplication and fear. Knowing that he enjoys seeing her afraid, Kaguya tries to calm herself down, but her emotions start to suffocate her. Seeing the look on her face, the Ninetails loses interest as he believes that her delicate heart has already broken. For now, he decides to let the ogrelings play with her so he can enjoy the meal once it's properly tenderized. But just as they are about to touch her, Morishita makes a superhero landing, sending all the ogrelings flying away. Furthermore, he takes out a baseball bat from his item box and hits the Ninetails in his gut with all his might, sending the god flying away. Do you think Morishita will be able to defeat the Nine-Tailed God? Comment Exorcist if you'd like a part 2 of this series. As usual, thank you for tuning in and we'll catch you in the next one.